But listen, I was speaking about Rudy Giuliani. I was speaking about our relationship, what happened when all these cab drivers were being killed, 60 to 80 a year. And I was a bit upset at the mayor because the mayor never went to a funeral, never went to a wake, never paid respect to any of the families of these cab drivers that were being killed in our city. Cab drivers were leaving children, their wives, their family behind. And there was no one to support them. That's why we set up the New York State Federation of Taxi Drivers to fight for them. And I am happy to say that those $5 million that Mayor Giuliani invested in the industry till this day has helped cab drivers survive the attacks that they had to withstand. It was a terrible era, but we took care of it. Then came Governor George Pataki. Governor Pataki stepped up. He was a true human being. To me, he was the best governor in my lifetime. Governor Pataki was a great Republican governor, but he wasn't a right-wing governor. He was a middle-of-the-road governor. He was kind. He had compassion. He listened. He had big ears and he listened when you asked for help. Pataki signed into legislation making it mandatory that anyone caught with an illegal gun in New York City had to serve a 3-year minimum penalty. 3 years in jail. At that time, the message was simple. Carry a gun illegally, and there will be serious consequences. Today, I often ask, what happened to those policies? What happened to accountability? What happened to protecting innocent people? Those are the questions New Yorkers continue to ask today. Why did we not follow the lead that George Pataki signed into law? I always thank Governor Pataki whenever I see him for all the things that he did to help protect cab drivers. And he did. Then came Michael Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg served from 2002 to 2013. I supported Michael Bloomberg's re-election campaign against Fernando Ferrer. That decision cost me friendships within the Hispanic community. I learned another painful lesson. When you support one politician, you create thousands of enemies. You think you're doing it for the right reason. But guess what? Those that you didn't support now hate you. So you have to really think about politics. Politics is a very divisive business. Politics creates resentment. Politics creates enemies. Still, Bloomberg was always respectful and professional in every interaction we had. I still care and enjoy speaking to him whenever I run into him because he is truly a nice guy. And he did an incredible, after Giuliani, to me, the second best mayor in my lifetime was Michael Bloomberg because he continued the same line of public safety that Mayor Giuliani put forth. Oh my God. Then came Bill de Blasio. Oh my God. Bill de Blasio, I don't even want to call him mayor because you know what? He served from 2014 to 2021. In my opinion, he was the worst mayor in my lifetime. We haven't seen one worse than him yet. Yet I supported him. I helped him. I introduced him to people. I believed I was helping someone that really wanted to help New Yorkers. Instead, I found myself in controversies, investigations, and media attacks. That had never happened to me before. And why? Bill de Blasio was a bad person. You know, I've got to jump to a topic that is very sensitive to me. And it involves two individuals. One of them is my colleague here at WABC. He has the show between 5 and 6, and I come on between 6 and 7. So he usually holds my seat warm for me. But Bill de Blasio and Andrew Cuomo took a place that I built called La Marina away from me. This is the betrayal that I am talking about. I supported Bill de Blasio and I supported Andrew Cuomo. He had been to my house numerous times. His father, I adored. His mother, I adore. His brother, Chris, is a friend, has always been a friend. But I don't understand what happened until this day. I haven't asked Andrew why the state took my liquor license away at La Marina. I haven't asked him that yet. But one day I will sit down with him and I will ask him why. These are two politicians that I supported. The biggest disappointment, I lost $6 million of my money. In order for you to spend $6 million, you have to earn 12. 500 jobs were lost. And I still don't know why. Everyone that was anyone in the country went to La Marina. What a place. Songs were written about La Marina. We were a victim of our own success. This was the hottest place to go to in the nation. And every police commander that went through the 3-4th precinct gave us letters of commendations telling us how well run La Marina was. There were no incidents, very few incidents. Incidents that we couldn't control that happened. But considering the multitude of people that went to La Marina, it was nothing. It was a drop in the bucket. Very few fights. Never a stabbing. There was one incident that I can recall where a gun was pulled and a shot was fired. And guess what? The police commander of that precinct came to us and said, "You couldn't have handled it better. We commend you for the way you handled it." La Marina was not simply a restaurant and a venue. It was an economic engine. More than 500 people worked there. Families depended on those jobs. Northern Manhattan, from Inwood to Washington Heights, all of the restaurants in the community, all of the bars in the community, all of the bodegas in the community benefited from the thousands of people that visited La Marina every weekend. Today, my advice is to anyone that has a venue. If you're in business in New York City, try to stay out of politics. Try to fly under the radar. The governor, the mayor, congressmen, women, senators, assembly members, council members, they only come to you for money, endorsements. But when you need them, they could never help. Because they always say, "Oh, we don't want it to seem like it's paid to play. Guess what, guys? Politics is about business, and business is about politics. Why would I donate $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 or raise $100,000 for a candidate? Why? I would do it because I want access, not for me, because I don't need it, but for my community, for my constituents, to try to help people. I mean, why are politicians there? They're there to try to solve problems. But no, they forget about all of that. Once they're in office, once they've won, once you've given them their money, they forget. And that is very hurtful. I had and I have great relationships. For example, with Police Commissioner Raymond Kelly. What a gentleman that guy was. Meantime, when I did Toys for Guns, I made a lot of friends in the police department. There was one chief. At the time, he was a captain. He was an XO at the 34th Precinct. His name was Terrence Monahan. Terrence Monahan became the 4-star chief of the NYPD. And I always thought in his rise, he was a chief in the Bronx, 2-star chief. I always thought that I had a great relationship with Terrence Monahan because we did Toys for Guns together. I spent time with him. But you know what? He turned out to be my worst enemy. And I don't know why. But what I do know is that Commissioner James O'Neill, Terrence Monahan, Inspector Raimundo Mundo, a Dominican, first Dominican inspector up in Washington Heights. Okay, you would think he would be an ally. He would be someone that would want to help me and the community. I was creating opportunity for my people. La Marina, I didn't make my money back. I lost millions of dollars. Lost it. It was taken from me. Why? Because of politics. And I'm going to get to it now because it was all betrayal. Raimundo Mundo created obstacles that were endless. He would shut down every street that led to the marina, not allowing traffic to flow through, letting women walk a quarter of a mile by foot with heels to La Marina, have people walk there instead of drive there. He wouldn't even let cab drivers come into the area. Those were the obstacles. And all this came because of Bill de Blasio. Bill de Blasio was evil. As far as I'm concerned, he brought the police commissioner, the inspector, the chief, and said, let's shut this guy down. You know why? Bill de Blasio asked me for a favor. He called me up personally and asked me to raise $20,000 for him. And I said, you know what, Mayor, I can't do it, but I will make some calls for you and see what I can do for you. So I called up a bunch of friends that I have, and I said, hey, would you like to help the mayor out? He called me. He needs some money. I had this guy. His name was, I believe, I forget the name of the guy that he had doing his, who was the treasurer for his campaign. The name will come to me soon. But this guy called me up and said, okay, did you raise the money? I said, yes, I raised the money. So I had a person pick up these checks and deliver them to the campaign. Very simple. He then calls me and says to me, who would you like for me to give the credit to for the checks I picked up? Why is he asking me that? He could have just put my name down. But I said, you know what? I don't need credit for it. Give the credit to a third party. And I named the third party. And guess what? After that, I thought I was doing him a favor. He kept asking me for people to meet. So guess what? The police chief came to me at the time and said, hey, I'd like for you to introduce de Blasio to these two Jewish guys, Jonah and Jeremy. Okay, I'm just trying to tell you the story so that you understand what happens, because a lot of lies were told. I just want to clear the air, because a lot of lies, like people like Curtis Sliwa, who's an endless liar, right, accused me of things that I never did. But
our next guest, Fernando Mateo.
It's No Excuses with Fernando Mateo.
With me today, Republican candidate Fernando Mateo.
Now, here's Fernando Mateo.
Here we are again. Listen, I've been, for those of you that are just joining us, I've been speaking about my life in New York City, politics, business, activism, and betrayal. Okay, and I was at the point where I was speaking about La Marina. And those of you that lived in New York know what La Marina was and what it stood for and all of the good things that we did for our community. And it was a combination of Bill de Blasio, who kept calling me, asking me to help raise money for him. I introduced him to two Jewish guys that ultimately developed their own relationship. I didn't really even know these guys. I was introduced to them by the chief of the police department at the time, okay? And I then just introduced them to de Blasio. I said, listen, these guys, I believe, are people that could raise money for you. And I really don't know them, but hey, work with them if you'd like. Hey, listen, they all started doing crooked stuff. And whatever crooked stuff they did, that had nothing to do with it. I was unaware of it. I didn't do anything illegally. I would never do anything illegally. And I was caught up in this whole mess. So what did de Blasio do to hurt me? He hit me where it hurts the most. He hit me in the pocketbook. He took La Marina away from me. He took the park concession. We had a 15-year lease. He took it away after 5 years. Okay. And then the biggest disappointment was when Andrew Cuomo's New York State Liquor Authority came and took my liquor license for no reason whatsoever. I don't know if de Blasio asked him to do it for him. I still don't know the real reasoning, but that's what put the nail in the coffin. Okay. You know, that was terrible. Then came one of the biggest surprises in my life. My run for mayor of New York City. Oh my God, what an experience. I ran against a character by the name of Curtis Sliwa. My own run for mayor of New York City in 2021. Curtis Sliwa, first of all, you know, this was his home, WABC Radio. He had been here for, 2 decades. And I've always wondered why he had the power of the mic. A guy that was full of lies. Based on Sliwa's own admission in 1992, most of the incidents occurred during the Guardian Angels' founding years. Unfortunately, he never publicly provided exact dates of when all of these hoaxes took place. But in 1978, he found a wallet with $300 and he returned it to an elderly person. That was a lie. In 80, he staged a mugging, claimed Guardian Angels rescued a mugging victim. Bruises displayed as proof were allegedly from a member falling in the subway. That was a lie, a story he made up. One of the incidents Sliwa admitted to that he fabricated. In the same year, he faked a kidnapping by transit police. Sliwa claimed 3 off-duty transit officers kidnapped and threatened him because of Guardian Angels subway patrols. He admitted that that was a lie. Then he had a fake attack while fighting a rapist. Sliwa claimed he was injured while battling several rapists in a Brooklyn subway station. That was another lie. Then he fabricated a heroic subway rescue. Several highly publicized guardian angels crime-fighting incidents were staged to exaggerate, to attract volunteers and media attention. Sliwa once again admitted that it was all a lie. It was all made up. Then came the gasoline attack story, where Tony Mao, who was one of the founders, soaked himself in gasoline, claimed it happened while preventing an attack on a token booth subway clerk. That's all made up. Then all of his public admissions. I wonder, how do you allow a compulsive liar to get on the radio and continue to lie for the next 2 decades? I don't believe a word, and I will never believe a word that comes out of Curtis Sliwa's mouth. He was my friend in the 70s. He lived in the Lower East Side. My carpet store was in the Lower East Side. Guys, I carpeted his house when he lived with Lisa there. We were friends, and we were friends throughout his entire life until Fernando Mateo threw his hat in the ring to run for mayor because I wanted to help my city. I thought that with the devastation that Bill de Blasio left, that you needed a businessman, someone that knew anything about business and had common sense and a good name, an honest name. I thought I could help by throwing my hat in the ring. And you know what? It's an experience that I will not ever regret. Running for office taught me more about politics than 50 years around politicians. One of the biggest disappointments, of course, involved Curtis Sliwa. I knew this guy for so long. Before the spotlight, I knew Curtis Sliwa. Over the years, we shared many experiences and crossed paths countless times. Curtis always understood media attention. He always loved it, perhaps better than anyone that I will ever know. Throughout his career, there were so many stories that I mentioned. Some were later challenged, disputed, corrected, whatever. He makes up stories all along. Curtis understood how to get attention. So when I entered the mayor race, I expected policy disagreements. I expected political differences with Curtis, my friend, the guy that I knew since the 70s. I expected honesty. You know what? I didn't expect what he did. What surprised me were the personal attacks. Personal attacks. He knows where I come from. He knows how hard I worked my entire life to get where I was. People who know you best know where to strike. People who know your history know which buttons to push. The campaign became one of the most difficult experiences in public life. It taught me that politics reveals people. It reveals character. It reveals loyalty. And it reveals who your real friends are. If someone asked me today whether they should run for office, I would tell them to think about it 10 times before making that decision. If you are not Michael Bloomberg, don't run for office. Don't run for office if you can't put up the money yourself. I have to go to a commercial break. I'll be right back.
It's No Excuses with Fernando Mateo.
Business owner Fernando Mateo.
No Excuses with Fernando Mateo. Sponsored by Pro Health Connect, connecting retailers, health plans, and patients in one powerful network. Visit prohealthconnect.com.
Let Century Management Solutions get you to your next medical appointment. They specialize in non-emergency medical transportation, connecting patients to care, safety, reliability, and on time. Their advanced technology platform seamlessly coordinates patients, healthcare providers, insurers, and transportation partners all in one powerful network. With over 200 trusted transportation providers, they deliver scalable solutions backed by real-time tracking and complete transparency. Go to SENTRYMS.com.
Almonte's Key Food, proudly serving communities throughout Brooklyn, Queens, and Long Island for over 30 years. When you shop Key Food, you'll always find fresh products, great weekly specials, and exceptional personalized service. Visit at any of their Key Food stores at 8235 153rd Avenue, Lindenwood, New York, 935 Rosedale Road, Valley Stream, New York, and 6620 Avenue U, Brooklyn, New York.
Our next guest, Fernando Mateo.
It's No Excuses with Fernando Mateo.
With me today, Republican candidate Fernando Mateo.
Now, here's Fernando Mateo.
Yes, this is Fernando Mateo. And for those of you that are joining us now, we've had a great 49 minutes of conversation speaking about some of my experiences in New York City's politics, business, and betrayals. Okay, I wish I had more time to share with you, to share my life. But every moment that I can, I will share a different experience with you so that you don't fall into the same pothole. We were talking here about Curtis Lewa, my run for office, and how this man made up stories, including saying that I ran La Marina, a place that was selling drugs. That never happened. It would have never happened under my watch. The fact that people that work for you, when you employ 500 people and people do stupid things within your business, doesn't mean that you need to know everything that they're doing. It's impossible. And those of you that are in business know what I'm talking about. Listen, politics could be rewarding. Politics can be exciting. Politics can be brutal. It can damage friendships, damage families, damage business, and damage reputations. As I look back on my life, I see the awards, the recognitions, the photographs, the celebrities, and by the way, the politicians. I have my wall of the disgraced wall for politicians, celebrities, because there are many that are in jail or went to jail or are going to jail, and I have pictures with them. But those are not the things that matter most. What matters most in my life are the changes that I was able to make happen. The inmates that got a second chance out of Rikers Island. The bodega owners and the clerks getting back home safe because we fought for them and we fight for them every single day of the year. The guns taken off of our city streets. That meant so much to me. And I wish that we can bring back the laws that George Pataki signed into law, where you get 3 years mandatory if you get caught with an illegal gun. It's easy to solve these problems. Mayor Mandami, if you're listening, listen, stricter laws, harsher punishments change people's behavior. You know, the drivers who made it home safely, that's what matters to me. The families who benefited from jobs and the lessons learned. In the weeks ahead, I will tell you stories about presidents, governors, mayors, police commissioners, activists, athletes, celebrities, friends and enemies that I've encountered. Some have inspired me. Some have disappointed me. Some betrayed me. But all of them helped shape my journey. And I will tell those stories exactly as I live them, with no filters, no spin, and no excuses. I promise you, you tune in to Fernando Mateo, No Excuses, every Sunday between 6 and 7, and you will learn something about life because I'm willing to share my success, how I made it, and those times that I failed. You know, in order for you to succeed, you have to fail. If you don't fail, you can't succeed. You know, Elon Musk failed. He had one opportunity left, and that was for his rocket to go into space. And if that rocket would have exploded, that would have been the end of it. He would have lost everything. And guess what? He took the chance. When you take chances in life, you succeed. I lost millions of dollars, but guess what? I've made millions of dollars back. I've lost opportunities, but guess what? There are more opportunities ahead. There's always things that you can do. When you fall down, just get up. Stronger than ever. Succeed. Being in business is a state of mind. Being in politics is a state of mind. And guess what? If Andrew Cuomo ran again for office, I may be one of his supporters. Because regardless to what he did to me, I forgive him. De Blasio, on the other hand, I will never forgive. Because he was brutal. He did the wrong thing. And I don't know why he didn't wind up in jail. Till this day, I can't figure out why he didn't wind up in jail. You know, Eric Adams, that's for another day. Zohran Mamdani is for another day. I love you all. Come back next Sunday between 6 and 7 p.m. Fernando Mateo, no excuses.